Happy Sunday. It's the Game Days pregame show for week 15 of the NFL. Joined as always by my buddy Kenny Betts Big. I am your host, Courtney Fallon. We are going to go through a huge slate of games today, lines, odds, bets, and give you all of our expertise. His expertise, not really mine. I'm just here to cope along. What's up? What's up, Kenny? How you doing?
What's going on, Courtney? You ready to make some money today?
I'm ready to make some money. I'm not really loving all of these games today, but I really racked my brain and I sat there and I calculated and I went back and forth in my mind. I think I've got the perfect combination, and especially yesterday, for all of us that were watching those Buffalo Bills below the wheels, really, off of the Denver Broncos heading out to Mile High. That is not an easy place to play. They were favored by 5.5, and man, they won convincingly. What did you think of that game? How impressive is Josh Allen?
Yeah, Josh Allen is just, at this point, he's definitely catapulted himself into one of the front runners for the MVP race at this point. The Bills just seem to, cover whatever the spread is, they're winning. Whoever the team is, they're winning. Wherever the game's played at, they're winning. At this point, the Bills just look like one of the best teams in the league for sure.
It reminds me kind of like of the Patriots of years past. I can just remember for years people saying, the Patriots are so good, they make me so much money. I feel like we finally have a team that we can actually trust in the Buffalo Bills, who are now AFC East champions for the first time since 1995. That is before Josh Allen was born, if that makes you old. Moving on to the next game that we saw last night. The Carolina Panthers heading into Green Bay. It looked kind of like a blowout earlier in the first half, but the Packers offense just came to a screeching halt. They did not have the rhythm and offense that they wanted. A couple really terrible goal line plays, dives over the top, and, credit to a lot of the linebackers for the Packers for disrupting those plays and giving the ball back to the Packers. But the Panthers had a backdoor cover in this one. Aaron Rodgers was not so happy about it. The line was 8. So they covered, the Panthers, that is, the Panthers covered, but it could have been a lot closer than we thought.
Yeah, that's just one of those typical games, like we've talked about before, where Aaron Rodgers comes out, he starts super hot, dropping, what did they put up, 3 touchdowns in the first 2 quarters, and they just, and it's just like a typical Aaron Rodgers game where they're playing a team they already know they're probably going to beat, and they take their foot off the gas. And luckily for Panthers bettors, that whoever got them plus 8.5 or better, they hit their bets, and whoever got them at plus 8, push. So a push is definitely better than a loss there.
Well, coming up, we're going to have a couple of games. I mean, this is not Wednesday afternoon football, but we are getting into that point of the season where we're going to have more Saturday games next week. We're going to have a Friday game on Christmas. We have Monday Night Football where the Steelers will be back in action. But what is the scheduling? How does that impact certain betting games or betting lines? The Browns, you've seen it coming off of, at least even with the Bills had about a 5-day break, but they didn't seem to affect them. But how does it affect some of the betting lines, some of those early lines that you love to jump on?
Yeah, it's definitely an angle to consider, especially in the NFL, where these players are getting a brutal beatdown every game, right? The hits they're taking, it takes a toll on their body, especially at this point in the season. So even though 1 extra day, 2 extra days, it may not seem like much, it is a huge difference, and it makes a big difference for those teams, when they're coming to play. So, that extra day off, those are teams that you want to really rely on betting on, because that extra rest is monumental when it comes to winning or even covering these games. I mean, that's what we care about, right? Unless you're the fan, we just care about covering the games.
Well, the Friday game on Christmas, that has to be one of my favorite games. Outside of the Chiefs and the Saints tonight, or the 4:00 slate, we'll get to that game. And hopefully Drew Brees has been whispering into Taysom Hill's ear and said, hey, man, if I get hit in the ribs, you better get ready to go. I like the audacity of Sean Payton to bring back Drew Brees. I'm just not so sure how that's going to hold up against the perennial Super Bowl champions in Kansas City. But, yeah, so the Saints are going to be coming back next Friday to play the Vikings, and then the Saturday games next week is the Bucks Lions, which obviously the Bucks are holding on to that 6th seed. The Niners and the Cardinals. The Cardinals are still holding on to that 7th seed. We'll talk about their game later today, and then the Dolphins and the Raiders, a big matchup with the Patriots today. So, it's one of those times or a time of year where you sit back and you start thinking about not only these games but the games going ahead. Do you have any first initial thoughts before we jump into our big 1:00 game, the Bears and the Vikings, Kenny?
For initial thoughts on what, some of the games for next week or for this week?
No, just before we get in, is there any final thoughts on,
Yeah,
things
so
you pointed out this week or?
Yeah, so you did mention, like, Sean Payton making another bold move. We've discussed on the show a few times Sean Payton really, holding to his own, making the call that most coaches normally wouldn't make. Look even back to that Super Bowl win coming out after halftime with an onside kick, right? He seems very, very bold in some of the decisions he makes, and they seem to work out for him. So like we were talking a few weeks ago with Taysom Hill, getting that start in that game. It was a bold movement going with Taysom Hill over Jameis Winston, and it worked out. Taysom Hill came out, he won him 4 or 5 games since Drew Brees has gone down. I think this is one of those games. I just love Drew Brees coming back here in this spot. I know, some people think they rushed him back kind of early, but I think this is a game where the Saints are definitely, their defense is going to step up. They looked bad last week versus the Eagles. I think this is a great spot here for the return of Drew Brees. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into the big 1:00 slate. I kind of like this game. The Bears and the Vikings. Minnesota's the 3-point favorite. This is basically an elimination game for the NFC North. Playoffs are coming early. I'm not really so sure if I'm buying Mitch Trubisky. A lot of people are, although Allen Robinson seems to be putting up the points every week. Seems like a very Chicago Bears kind of thing to do late in the season when everything is all but lost. It's like they make that final comeback, that final push. Dalvin Cook seems to be slowing down. The over-under in this game is 46.5, and moved down a little bit. I'm liking the over in this game, and to be honest, it's a toss-up for me. I'm thinking the Bears are going to take this one. I'm kind of going to be riding the hot hand. What do you think?
Yeah, I would go with you here with the Bears. I like the Bears play. If this is a game you wanted to bet, personally, I'm not going to touch this game. But Kirk Cousins for his career, doesn't cover those short spreads from -3 to +3. I think I have it. Let me pull up the stat right here for you guys. He is a bad 5-13 for his career when the spread is, -3 to +3. So for his career, he just can't get it done with those short spreads. So I like the Bears here. They were undefeated with Mitch Trubisky in the beginning of the season. They switched to Foles, and they had that weird, lull in the middle of the season where they just couldn't seem to get anything done on offense, and they weren't getting winning any games. I like the Bears team. I think they look a lot better with Mitch Trubisky under center. So yeah, I think this is a great spot to ride the Bears, getting points too.
Prop bets for me, Allen Robinson, definitely a big get. And our guy, Cole Kmet, he's a very interesting goal line option for them. I think he, in week in, week out, not only a very interesting fantasy play, but a nice prop bet play. All right, the big game, 4:00. You kind of previewed it. Everyone's talking about it. Kansas City at New Orleans. Kansas City is still a 3-point favorite. This line is pretty high at 53.5. Drew Brees, he's going to play. Whether or not he's going to play the entire game, it remains to be seen. But we know how that Saints team can step up, especially in their defense. You alluded to it time before, Kenny. The Chiefs have consecutive road games. Will Patrick Mahomes have success against this New Orleans defense? And really a question to me is Patrick Mahomes going to be focused the entire time? I feel like we're starting to see that lull in the season where, especially it really started for me in when he was playing that Dolphins game, the first half, you were just like, what is happening? He was like running through 3 interceptions. He wasn't really acting the same way that we have seen the perennial MVP candidate. But right now, Patrick Mahomes, this is the time of the season for him to have to really step up and say, all right, I'm going to put the pedal to the metal. If they're going to be serious against a solid NFC opponent like the New Orleans Saints, they got to put them away. They got to put points up early, and they got to put them away.
Yes, sorry for getting a little ahead of myself there earlier. This game, so excited about this game.
Yeah.
obviously, I already said before, I love the Saints here. Right now, 65% of the bets are on the Chiefs and 70% of the money. So, again, I say this every Sunday. This is just a huge liability for the sports books here. Sports books usually, well, they always win. I think this is a great spot to take I think a lot of people are looking at that last week's performance against the Eagles and, kind of writing the Saints off in this game. Like, oh, this is just a big over, like I don't know what the word you would call it, where like prisoners of the moment. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Over prisoners of the moment, right? Like people are forgetting this is the number one defense in the NFL. Defense wins championships, defense wins games, and then you get a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the top 5 quarterbacks all time, coming back for this game. I love the Saints here. This is a big, sharp play. In my eyes, there's only one bet in this game, and that's the Saints.
Okay. All right. You can get both sides of that. You can go either way. I mean, you're going to tilt the scales on this if you go to every expert across the board, across the gambling lines, from
someone's always right.
Vegas. Exactly. Someone is always right. You're right. Let's move on to that Sunday night game. Man, I had this one in my teaser and I took him out because I'm just sitting here and I'm like, man, I hope the Giants don't make me look stupid. It's the Browns at the Giants. Cleveland is a 6.5-point favorite. We have seen Baker Mayfield step up as of late. He is looking like he is ready to take this team deep into a postseason run. Kevin Stefanski, leader in the MVP race. I'm not saying a leader, but I mean, he's up there with the top 3 between him and Sean McDermott and Brian Flores. So yeah, he's got the Browns in good standing. The Giants were really bad against the Cardinals last week. Very high, very low scoring game. But again, Daniel Jones was not able to move in the pocket. And when Daniel Jones is able to be mobile, that's when the Giants can be dangerous. We're going to see another Colt McCoy led offense in this one. The over-under kind of low, 44.5. So I was originally saying that the Giants were going to cover. I thought it would be a closer game, but I took them out because I can't trust a Colt McCoy led offense for the Giants.
Yeah, it's a weird game. The total is super low, makes you just automatically, people think, automatically this game's going to go over 44, let's bet the over. But usually those low totals, you want to lean on the under. I gave the Browns out in the early lines earlier this week at -4 or 4.5. Now it's up to 6.5. Those spreads you do want to be careful of. Like, we've seen a few times already going over some of these games on the show where, after the line, you don't want to be on the wrong end of that line movement, right? Like, let's say people who bet the Browns at -4 and the Browns come out, win this game by 6. Now the people who got on the right side of the line, they're going to win. Anyone who's on Browns -6.5, unfortunately, that's a losing bet. I love the Browns at -4. I have them in teasers. I just don't see the Browns coming out here losing the game outright to the Giants. Statistically, the Giants at home are terrible against the spread. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but they cover it's like 11 for 34 against the spread at home since playing at MetLife. So I love the Browns here. I think they're going to be highly motivated, super hungry for the win here. And playoff seeding is still up for grabs, right? So they can't come out here and just take their foot off the gas because they're in the playoffs, because obviously no one wants to play the Chiefs coming out of the first round, or anyone watching this game knows.
Yeah. Well, also the same can be said about the New York Giants is that, in this, in a couple, we're going to be talking about this next game with the Seahawks traveling to Washington to play the Washington football team. A lot of people liking the Seahawks there. So, I mean, they're looking at the odds, and that NFC East is kind of, in their eyes, is still up for grabs. So you got to still remember that Giants defense is still a top 10 unit in the league. And this game is super confusing, and I'm just not loving it as much as I would like to. It's almost like there's some of these games you're just like, I don't know who I can trust. All right, especially with this game.
This is a tough week for sure, especially handicapping some of these games, which, just people at home watching. Sometimes if you're a little confused and, you're not sure, that's like a clear sign that you shouldn't be betting the game. So, just some people feel like they look at these games and they have to, I got to bet this game. Who am I taking? Like, you don't have to bet every game at home. So that's the big mistake a lot of people make.
Yeah, and I mean, for some of these games, like I took the over in the Bears and Vikings, and I just, for me personally, it was just like I don't know. Even though I do like the Bears in that game, it was like I just I don't want to touch certain lines, and so you can kind of step away, take different prop bets or what. I know you hate prop bets, but
From
uh,
from a fantasy perspective, how do you think Dalvin Cook's going to do? I was reading like an article about how the Bears, they usually contain Dalvin Cook a lot, which is another reason why I kind of lean the Bears in that game, right? Because
yeah.
without Dalvin Cook, that Vikings offense is one trick pony pretty much. So
Yeah. Well, they do have Justin Jefferson back. So, as they're kind of trying to save their legs or whether they're not just running them into the ground before they make that postseason run, especially given the Vikings are really just kind of on the edge right now, they're going to be going to the air game a lot. So, last week, Kirk Cousins got sacked 6 times in the pocket. So, the passing game struggled. He was dropping balls off a lot to Irv Smith, his tight end, ignoring Adam Thielen, and Justin Jefferson kind of fell through the cracks. So, yeah, I think that the Bears defense has a real shot to come up late in the season. People forget that Khalil Mack is on the other side of the ball for that Bears team. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that, just in terms of fantasy wise, I would lean a lot more towards the Bears opponents. The Bears guys, David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, Cole Kmet, Mitch Trubisky, et cetera, et cetera. All right, let's move on to this Monday Night Football game. Super exciting here. We got the Steelers coming off of a two back-to-back losses playing against the Bengals. I'll be respectful and call them the Bengals. The Steelers are a 14-point favorite. The over/under in this one is 40. I think one of the lines that I was considering, the team total for the Bengals is 13 and a half. And I think the over is the under is the favorite. So,
jeez, yeah, that's
yeah, I mean, that just goes to show if Vegas has you putting up less than 13 points, it's not looking too good. But what are your thoughts on this one? How would you approach it?
it's a tough game. Steelers coming off 2 losses, right? So you don't know what Steelers team you're going to get. Mike Tomlin for his career is very good coming off a loss against the spread. Um, but at the same time, 14 is a lot of points. So especially in a division game and an NFL game, right now there's about 34% of the bets on the Bengals, 90% of the money, which is pretty remarkable. That's a huge gap there. So public definitely all over the Steelers here. For easy reason. Like I said, one of the best teams in the league coming off of 2 losses. Everyone thinks they're going to bounce back in a big way. This is a game where I just personally probably wouldn't touch this. I do kind of, if you're looking at this and it's Monday Night Football, you want to bet it. I kind of like the Bengals teased up here. If you can get them plus 20 or 21, if you lose by 20 points in the NFL, it's just you shouldn't be losing by 20 points in an NFL game. So,
I'm
but
sorry. It's just funny. That's just funny to hear. Oh, it's so sad, And meanwhile, these guys are, they're probably going to get the third overall pick in the draft behind the Jaguars and the Jets, and still not come away with a solid player. It's just the unfortunate game of
the The
being
Bengals
bad
have
and
had a
being
top
solid.
pick like in a million years in a row. Bengals and the Browns, I think, have like 13 first-round picks out of their starting on their starting like defense and offense combined. So it's like finally, finally they got it right and they have a winning team. That many first-round picks, they should be like one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, but you could say the same about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were picking in the top 5 for 5 straight years, and then they Ndakwe, Yannick Ndakwe. I'm pronouncing his name wrong,
You
but
said that you said that way better than most people I've ever heard try.
Yannick
Jeez, I wouldn't
Ndakwe.
even try to say that.
I mean, they had Leonard Fournette. I mean, then they just traded everyone away, and they're back to being perennially bad. So
Yeah.
you can go either way. You can rebuild. You can rebuild the smart way, or you can get all the pieces of the puzzle and go to the AFC Championship game against New England Patriots in 2017, and then just dynasty over.
Yeah, what a fall from greatness that was, right? Like that Jaguars team looked like they were primed for like be great for 5-6 years with that defense. Jalen Ramsey, like I remember, yeah, that team they were fun to watch too.
Yep, and then they got ruined by
Yeah.
Brady and Amendola and a bunch of Julian
Yeah,
Edelman. That's just the one thing. It was such bragging rights in here in New England.
yeah, that was a
Moving
good
on.
win.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the mixed bag at 1 o'clock. We're going to go through the 1 o'clock slate of games here. And the second one that has huge playoff implications outside of that Chiefs and Saints game, of course, we mentioned it. It's the Seahawks going to visit the Washington football team over in Landover, Maryland, in that stadium in FedEx Field. But before we weigh in on that game, let's send it over to our guys, Adam Kramer, who is riding solo because Marcus Mosher is welcoming. I welcomed his daughter into the world. So yeah, Adam Kramer, rocking solo, and let's see what he has to say about this game.
I think that this offense is just not what we saw earlier in the year. Seattle -5 at the Washington football team. Over under in this is 44.5. That's an interesting total. Marcus, by the way, has Seattle to cover. I'm going to be on the under in this game. Excuse me. It's probably an omen that it's not going to cover now, but I am on the under in the game, and here's why. Seattle, by the way, 9-4, 7-6 against the spread. Washington 6-7 and 7-5-1 against the spread. So Seattle crushes the Jets. Congratulations. Thank you, Seattle, for getting us one step closer to Trevor Lawrence. That game was gross. It was over in the first quarter. The Jets were really bad. I thought Seattle's defense played better. I thought the offense played well, but I still think that this offense is just not what we saw earlier in the year. As a Russell Wilson fantasy owner, I can tell you it's not, because it just hasn't had that same sync that it once did. Washington is on a bit of a run. 4-0 against the spread in the last 4, 3 road games that they played. The Alex Smith injury to the calf, and his status is a bit up in the air, makes this one tough to me, and I'm more prone to make this an under game as a result of that. I think Seattle's going to cover in this game most likely. I'm thinking in that 27-10 range. I just don't know where that Washington offense is going to come from, but I really, really like this defense. It's not just Chase Young, but go back and watch the play where he just sort of scoops up the football and just runs with it naturally. A man that big should not move that well. I said that in Winners Losers video. I just love what I've seen from him, even if the statistics haven't been there.
I do love that Washington football team, Kenny. Remember that, or else it's going to curse your entire slate for Sunday.
Don't
Make
tell
sure
me that.
that you say that. Don't say the R word. All right. Washington is 4-0 against the spread in the last 4 games. I really like this team, but right now it's questionable. I mean, this is a Dwayne Haskins-led football team because Alex Smith is not playing out of precaution, I believe, strained calf on that injured leg. And Antonio Gibson's is kind of tailing off for the last couple of weeks. Terry McLaurin has kind of been quiet. I kind of expect him in this game to have a bounce back game. But then again, you are talking about on the other side of the ball, at the beginning of the season, everyone thought that Russell Wilson was going to be the MVP of the year. That happened to tail off just a little bit, but yeah, Russ is definitely going to get a couple of MVP votes since he's actually never had any MVP votes in his career, which is remarkable. But Russ and his crew and Pete Carroll and the playoff bound Seattle Seahawks are heading into Washington. This game is Seattle 6.5-point favorite. That line pretty low once again at 44 because of that Washington defense. Montez Sweat and Chase Young, who is an absolute monster. Talk about a name that we're going to be hearing for years to come. The Giants handled them pretty well a couple of weeks ago, him being Russell Wilson. So does Washington get it done in this one? Or is this kind of a game that you'd like to tease down?
No, yeah, I like Washington here, the Washington football team, especially if you can get them right now. They're 6.5 at some sports books. If you can buy them up to +7, I love that bet. I'm a big believer. I always take defense over the offense. I think the Seattle Seahawks defense is very suspect. So, even without Alex Smith and step in Dwayne Haskins, who, we don't really know what we're going to see. He didn't look great in the beginning of the year, but this Washington team looks way better now than it did in the beginning of the year as well. So I think you're going to see, Haskins come in, fill in for Alex Smith, and I don't think they're going to really miss a beat. I think there's going to be like a lower scoring game. I think Washington with that +6.5, +7, I think they'll get it done. Seahawks will probably win the game late by a field goal, just like they always do. close game, and Pete Carroll will just say, hey, Russ, go get it done for us. And he'll figure out a way to make some magic happen, I'm sure. But a big look ahead spot as well for the Seahawks next week. They take on the Rams. As well as right now, there's about 60% of the bets and 88% of the money on the Seahawks. So again, another huge liability for the sports books. Those typically tend to, not go in the bettors' favors.
Okay, let's move on. You love this game. I think the Pats are going to get obliterated. The Patriots heading down to play the Miami Dolphins, knowingly they are terrible in Miami, Florida, in the month of December. That was always the time that Tom Brady would get his butt whipped down there in the heat. But the Patriots, the Dolphins are a 1.5-point favorite. The Dolphins have crushed the Vegas spread, 10-3 over their last 13 games, and they've covered the last 3 games straight. The over-under in the line in this one is pretty low, 41. A lot of people are saying this could go either way, that Tua is going to have his way. Remember that Brian Flores also coached under Bill Belichick, so these are 2 very familiar teams. Bill definitely wants to win in this one, but I mean, for me, I just absolutely cannot trust any offense that is led by Cam Newton in any sense of the word. That Dolphins front line is pretty strong, so if they even want to even go at the ground game, I just they don't have Damian Harris. He's out with an ankle injury. They don't have Dante Moncrief. I cannot see any possible way that the Patriots will even cover here. And I'm just going to say that out loud. I know a lot of people love New England. They love New England. I love New England. I'm going to tease them up to 8, and this is going to be the best game, and they're going to cover. I don't see it. I don't see it. Convince me otherwise.
It's a good accent. I liked it. I took the Patriots +3 in my early lines video. I have them in teasers +8 as well. So I'm one of those guys. I'm a math guy. So even though the Patriots are my favorite team, I don't bet on teams. I bet on numbers and lines, right? So Belichick, for his career, he's got 19-5, which is good for 79%. Against the spread when he's coming off a double-digit loss. I don't know if you remember last week, they just lost by double digits to the Rams, unfortunately. But so 79% math on our side. Another stat, Bill Belichick is like 20-5 for his career against rookie quarterbacks straight up. Just math, just all in our favor here, right? So I just think that you're going to get a Patriots team super hungry. You and I have spoke about this before. We love betting Bill Belichick when he's got a little bit of like a revenge on his side. I don't know if anyone remembers back to last season, week 17, Dolphins beat the Patriots, cost them home field advantage throughout, possibly cost them, a Super Bowl. Who knows? So I think Bill is going to be highly motivated to come in, win this game, as well as, like you said, the Dolphins are covering what? They're 10-3 against the spread. Those numbers always regress back to the mean. So very rarely do you see teams go like, what would they be like 12-3, 12-4 against the spread? Those numbers usually regress back to the mean at some point. So I think this is a great spot for the Patriots. They're not really playing for much at this point. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. It would probably be better for them to lose to get a better draft pick, but as we've seen, I don't think Belichick cares about that. I think that guy thinks he can get the same quality of player, the first pick or the last pick in the draft. So I think this is a great spot for Belichick to get that team fired up. I think the defense is going to be very hungry. I honestly don't think Tua is even that. I think he's very overrated right now. He hasn't really done much in the NFL. This is a game where I love the Pats. I'm hammering the Patriots. I told you guys last week the Ravens were going to be one of my biggest bets of the year. Patriots, I may have to double down on that one because I just can't see Belichick losing here.
Okay. Well, we're going to have a bag of donuts on that one by the end.
77% of the money on the Dolphins too. So now I'm on the sports book side here, and I like it even more.
Okay. All right. You're gonna come back and get that backdoor sneaky money. Well, speaking of backdoor sneaky money, the Colts seem to be money over the last couple of weeks. Indy is a 7.5-point favorite. This game is played at home. Colts a couple weeks ago, if you remember, they went into Houston and won pretty handily. It was a convincing, strong win for them. Colts are 15-3 over their last 18 games against the Texans at home. I can see T.Y. Hilton having a mega game, maybe 75 yards or more. And this one, the over-under is at 51. So they also think Vegas thinks that the line is going to be high. There's going to be a lot of scoring. And we all know what Deshaun Watson can do. I just think in this situation, I think that Houston is at the point where they're kind of looking ahead to, that vacation, that summer vacation, going fishing, going skiing, going whatever they're going to do in the off season. I feel like they're just starting to mail it in. I don't think Romeo Crennel is going to be the coach next year. And, I think that this is the point of the season where the Colts are going to be hammering it home. Jonathan Taylor is as hot as ever. What are your thoughts on the Indianapolis Colts in this one? Do you think they can win handedly?
Yeah. So usually I love betting on road underdogs coming off a loss, which the Texans are here. But we alluded to the scheduling and the late season. This is just one of those situations where, like you said, the Texans really aren't playing for much. I don't see Romeo Crennel staying there, so it's not like they're coming out super motivated to try and play for the coach, trying win him a job. Yeah, if you're gonna bet this game, you got to go with the Colts. I'm guessing they look amazing at this point. Phillip Rivers for his career, usually on fire at the end of the season, usually starts slow. Jonathan Taylor, like you touched on, looks incredible. Last year he just won the game by himself. Last week, mind you, he won the game pretty much by himself. Ran all over the field. So yeah, if you're gonna bet this game, you got to go with the better team here that's actually playing for something. So yeah, I would take the Colts as well.
The Bucs and the Falcons. The Falcons also seem to be mailing it in. Their offense looking terrible. I mean, Matt Ryan looks like he's cooked. You got Russell Gage stepping back in the pocket, doing trick plays, throwing balls in the end zone. That's when you know that you are in trouble. And Tom Brady's got lots on the line today. He's going to want to get the most of the Falcons. This line, it's Tampa 6.5. I believe. Yes, Tampa 6.5. That line is at 49 right now. Bucs have been at home basically for the last month. I think that benefits them. They had 2 home losses and then a bye and a solid win over the Vikings. So I think that they're going to finish strong with some energy here. I've got the Bucs with the points.
Yeah, I agree with you. You definitely can't bet the Falcons here. They look terrible. The one thing I would say about betting the Bucs spread is I think you're going to see a lot of experimenting on the Bucs side. They have a lot to figure out with blitz pickups, a lot of things to fix on that offensive side. And who better to do it against the lowly Falcons? They play the Lions the next week, and I think they play the Falcons again. So they have pretty much a give me schedule the next 3 weeks to try and tinker and try different stuff out. See if this works. Fix this. Try and get try and get hot before the playoffs, if you want to say. I really like the under here. This is like a sneaky one. A lot of people look at this game, probably think, oh, the Falcons are going to put up points. They have a good offense. The Bucs are, starting to click after last week's win. Right now, there's about 66% of the tickets on the over, only about 10% of the money. So this is like a huge, huge public play, that over. I like the under a lot here. Even if you were to take a teaser, tease the Bucs to a pick 'em with the under. So you would tease the under up to 57. I think that's a really strong play. And if you wanted to bet the Bucs, I think that's a better play than just taking the Bucs minus 6.5.
Okay. Here's a garbage time game. Sorry, Jaguars. It's the Jaguars at the Ravens. This line.
We're just trashing the Jaguars today.
I mean, I just don't. I do love Doug Marrone, and I hope he does keep his job next year. I think he's not one of the ones that needs to go. Adam Gase. But Doug Marrone leading the Jaguars. Ravens look red hot right now. They look like they're hitting their stride, and they're hitting their stride well. I believe Hollywood Brown has been activated in this one. Lamar Jackson is going to be looking to lay it on even more. That running game is going to go wild for Baltimore, and the Jags can't stop the run. I say this is an absolute slaughter, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens covered in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Ravens, we talked about it last week. I think they're just going to really start hitting their stride here. I think they're going to get into the playoffs and just everything's going to be clicking at the right time for them. 13 in the NFL is always a ton of points. Sharp money is on the Jaguars here, plus 13. But with that being said, sharps lose as well. No one is perfect when it comes to sports betting. So I would never be able to take my money and bet against this red hot Ravens team here. I can easily see the Ravens winning by 14 plus here. I agree with you.
I kind of like this next game, the Niners at the Cowboys, even though, this is one of those games that there could be a lot of points scored in this one. The Niners are 3-point favorites over the Cowboys. That Cowboys defense is completely decimated. They had their shot, San Francisco, a couple of weeks ago, but it seems like they're kind of done, but they want to finish on a high note. I think this is the game that I have Brandon Ayuk. I really think that he's going to be a top 5 top 10 wide receiver for the rest of the season. I think that he is in prime form. I have him in a prop bet for over 74.5 yards. At minus 114. I think he's going to have a massive game. And I also think that the running game is going to go, even though, you can't really pick out any one of those running backs, whether Mostert gets a couple of carries, but Jeff Wilson Jr. was a hot play for me in DFS this week. I think that there are Niners, that being said, when they're good and getting big with the running game, they're going to be controlling the clock in this one. The Cowboys could have a chance. Ezekiel Elliott seems to be looking, I think he's looking worse every week. I think it's a lower leg or an ankle injury for him. So you could see a lot of CeeDee Lamb. I think that there's going to be a lot more points here than people think. The over-under in this one is at 45. Yes, I believe. Who do you got? Oh, sorry, that line is moved to 3.5.
Okay, yeah. So I agree with you. I think, you're going to see a hungry Niners team. Unfortunately, they came out the last 2 weeks and crapped the bed. And now I think they put themselves out of playoff contention. So they don't really have much to play for here. Except maybe for their coach, Kyle Shanahan. I think, we've talked about it before off air, how I think he's one of the best coaches in football. I think he's just going to get that team fired up. He's a way better coach than Mike McCarthy in my eyes. I don't even know how Mike McCarthy has a job in this league. One bet I do like here is the 49ers first half money line. Historically, the Cowboys
first half money lines. I like that. I like those bets.
Yeah. Statistically, the Cowboys at home are not good in the first halves. This year alone, they're 1-4-1 against the spread. So, again, math on your side, just dating back to history with the trends. I like the 49ers here. I think it's a pick 'em too, so you can get a -0.5 at minus 110. I think the 49ers are going to come out, start the game very strong, and I like them here also.
Okay.
As well as we talked last week too, a bad spot for the 49ers is home favorites. For some reason, when Kyle Shanahan is just like a home favorite, he can't seem to win the game. I don't know why. So he's not a home favorite here. He's on the road. I think this is a good spot for him.
Okay. All right. They don't have to travel too far. Phoenix to Dallas is like 6-hour drive. So I bet you they got on a plane though. The Lions at the Titans. This line was big. It was like an 11.5 a couple of days ago, but Matthew Stafford, I mean, man, he is gutting it out. And he has bruised cartilage in his ribs, and he's going to still play. The Titans defense is pretty tough. The Titans are favored by 9.5. I still think that line is pretty big just because the Lions can put up a lot of garbage time points here. I expect a huge game from Derrick Henry, just running it down the throat. With that Titans secondary, again, they had me worried, but now that Matthew Stafford is back in, that's why that line jumped down a little bit. I don't know. This is one of those games that I'm kind of just staying away from. I think this line is too high again. They expect a lot of points to be put up, 54. So this kind of seems like a juxtaposition from the books. What are your thoughts on this? Do you see what I'm saying? It's 54 points is pretty high for a line, and then it's 9.5.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like the under here a lot. Right now, there's 70% of the bets, 91% of the money on the over. I think you're going to see a very vanilla offense from the Titans. I think you're going to see a ton of Derrick Henry. So as long as Derrick Henry's not busting 80-yard runs like he's been the last few weeks, I think it's going to be a very slow-paced game. I don't think we're going to see a healthy Matt Stafford here. I think he'll probably come out and play, but bruised ribs, cartilage, I don't know. I don't want to put my money on an injured quarterback, right? So I think you're going to see a very vanilla offense from the Titans. I don't see the Lions being able to get much going because they just look bad this year. And yeah, I like the under a lot. And as far as the total, the spread, I'm not getting in front of this Titans train right now. They look unstoppable. Derrick Henry's running all over the field. No way I want to put my money on the Lions here. Even though it is a big look-ahead spot, right? The Titans do play the Packers next week. That's a huge, huge game. So, yeah, if you're going to touch this game, I think the safest bet is on the under.
Okay. All right. 4 o'clock games. We got 2 more to cover here on our show. It's been fun every week. It's kind of sad that we only have 2 more weeks of the regular season, but then the good stuff comes, Kenny. We got all that postseason jazz coming up here. 4 o'clock game. Eagles at the Cardinals. Jalen Hurts, can he do it again? Can he do it again on the ground and through the air? He had 106 rushing yards on the ground last week. The Cardinals do have some film on him, so I do expect Cliff Kingsbury to do his due diligence. Hassan Reddick had a historic game last week. 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. That offense seems to start to be clicking again. Kyler Murray is starting to look a little more healthy. But this was kind of, again, another toss-up to me. The Cardinals, 6-point spread, 6.5. See, the line keeps jumping on that in my notes. The 6.5 point spread. The over-under in this one is 49. Kind of has me thinking. I'm like, is this Eagles team? Are they going to, apparently Carson Wentz this morning is saying, oh, he's not happy. And, he's very unhappy with things over there. Can you imagine being Carson Wentz and blaming anyone else but yourself for sucking and getting benched?
Guys getting paid $40 million a year to sit on the NFL sideline.
Classic diva move, and I'm sure that's going to give Jalen Hurts a little more added motivation to stick it to him. So, hey, I might be the rookie. We did come off of a big win. I'm sure Carson Wentz wasn't happy about that and all the praise that he was getting. So, to me, I kind of have the Eagles plus 6.5. That's my guess in this one.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals to win the game outright. I have them in a few teasers down to a pick with, the Patriots as well as some of the other games I mentioned. 6.5 is just a lot of points. The Eagles defense is a good unit. They have a great defense. I don't know what to expect from Jalen Hurts this week. I liked him last week against the Saints. I just don't know if he's going to, have the same type of performance. I think a lot of people are on this Eagles bandwagon right now. Surprisingly, right now is about 55% of the money on the Eagles tickets. Anytime you have a road underdog getting more of the money, those are just great spots to fade them here. So I like the Cardinals. I wouldn't bet it with the 6.5 just because it's a lot of points. But if you can, get a live bet in where maybe they're -3 or even throw in a teaser, I don't see them losing the game outright.
Jets at the Rams. We saved the best for last here on the game day Sunday morning show.
Jeez, that's brutal.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams covered here. The Rams are 17-point favorite. You saw what they did to that New England Patriots team last week. On both sides of the ball, they seem to be the front runners for the NFC West to be leading that division. So it's basically, I think Vegas is kind of looking at, all the points for the Rams and nothing for the Jets because that line is at 44.5. Is that what we're thinking here, Kenny?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's thinking that at this point. Like, are the Jets even going to score a touchdown here? I don't know. The Rams defense looks amazing. I will say this is a big look ahead spot next week. They do play the Seahawks, right? So, it's a huge game next week. This is tough, man. 17 points in the NFL game is unreal. Jeez. Like, I could never take my money and go bet the Rams here just because 17 points is a ton. Like, if you're going to look at it, like, I think the under is the better bet, just because I could see the Rams winning like a 30-0 game, but I could also see them winning 17-0 games. So, like, I think the under is probably the safer bet here in my eyes. But this is just a game I would never even touch. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm not touching this 10-foot pole. I even, it's like this one and the Steelers game. I think that these are the games that you kind of start looking at prop bets and, kind of individual lines, first half unders, first half overs for the Rams. And because I could kind of see them putting up a ton of points at the beginning of the game and then just leaving it to their defense and putting in the rookies.
Exactly. They could be up like 24-0 at the half and then take their players out. And who knows what happens at that point. But look at a few weeks ago with all this. We had like 2 weeks ago. I think there was 4 or 5 games with double-digit spreads, and I think that they covered. They went 4-1 that week. It's gonna be interesting to see. We got 1, 2, we got 3 this week. So I'm curious to see how the Dogs do this week.
The Lions game too. That was we would have had 4, but so now that
yeah, you're right. So yeah, we got 4 this week. So we gotta keep track and let everyone know how they did next week.
Breaking news, Jameis Winston has been placed on the COVID reserve list for the Saints. So if Drew Brees wants to have, his guy who's eating W's on the sideline, he's not going to see him today.
That is huge implications on the game.
Winston's he's not going to save you today. Any final thoughts before we go?
No, just like I said, guys, you don't have, everyone, you don't have to bet every single game, right? Some people are looking at this slate. There's, yesterday was like a gambler's paradise with the college games, the college basketball, the NFL games. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. So you don't have to bet every single game. The only way to make money doing this is look for the games with the biggest edge, and again, fire on those games. You guys are going to hear me say this every single week, but that's the only way people can make money. Like even my clients, they make these same mistakes all the time where, let's say I'm giving out picks, and I'm having a great week, and I'll hit them up at the end of the week. Oh, how'd you guys do? Oh, I was up 3 units, let's say. How did you finish up 3 units? I'm up 10 units. And they bet their own stuff. They do this, they do that. And people make that. You're paying me for a reason. I'm trying to find you guys the games with the biggest edge. They're not always going to hit, but by being consistent and only betting those games, it's math. You're going to come out in the positive at the end of the year. So I've been doing this for 6 years as a living. I haven't had a job for 6+ years. I've just been betting on sports. So again, just stay consistent. You don't have to get it all in one game.
Just got to go straight to the math. He's the expert. That's Kenny Bets Big. I'm Courtney Fallon. This is our pregame show for the game day. You can catch us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch. If you jumped in halfway, didn't get our whole show, you can always go to the rewind. This is the internet now. We can always rewind, fast forward. There will be a safe place for your bets on a Sunday. Well, good luck, everyone. And
yes, good luck.
I wish you a merry, happy ticket win Sunday.
Oh yeah, happy holidays, everyone! Right? We're not going to see them before Christmas. So happy holidays. Hopefully, we get some wins in today and makes everyone Christmas that much better.
Oh yeah, sounds good. All right, bye guys. See you next week.